was the greatest medical tragedy of all time. A so-called wonder drug for pregnant women that devastated thousands of lives. Thalidomide was developed by German pharmaceutical giant Grunenthal in the 1950s. Millions of doses were sold to an unsuspecting world. No one knows just how many babies died, but those that did survive suffered horrific birth defects. This week brought dramatic developments in a story we've been following for months. And tonight, in a special investigation, we reveal chilling details about the origins and creators of this evil drug. Mary Hanley Callipy is on the road to see a lifelong friend with whom she shares a tragedy. Mary was a child of the thalidomide generation.
Keep going, madam.
I think the ramps will hold you.
So was the woman who almost from birth became her best friend, Lynn Rowe.
I remember that, so I wonder where those chairs were that we sat on for that infamous photo.
This photo was taken when the girls were just 4 years old.
I thought it was in the driveway there. Yeah.
It was up the front.
Out the front, yeah.
Today is a precious reunion for Mary, Lynn, and Lynn's parents, Wendy and Ian. All of them bound by the calamity of thalidomide.
We had no special treatment, really. No kid love.
For the Rows, it's been a hard and often lonely road since the fateful day in 1962 when Lynn was born. A memory that is still raw.
Usually when babies are born, people are saying, oh, lovely, it's a girl, it's a boy. And there was just deadly silence and nobody said anything. And I remember thinking, gosh, she just looked gorgeous. And I thought, well, you know, we're just going to have to look after her and love her and deal with it, you know. But it was really hard. It's safe.
They brought Lynn home.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Ian and Wendy were never going to give up on Lynn, even when they were told she'd be lucky to survive 6 months.
We just ignored that and didn't ever think of anything else apart from we'll go back and bring Lenny home. Yeah.
Bring a little baby home.
Yeah, that's right, yes, yeah.
All over the world in the late 1950s and early 60s, the morning sickness drug thalidomide wreaked its chemical curse on young mothers and their babies. It was created by the German pharmaceutical giant Chemie Grunenthal, a company that rose from the ashes of World War II. The effects of thalidomide were horrendous.
People used to walk on the other side of the road rather than look in the pram because they were embarrassed and didn't know what to say, but you know, it hurt us. But yeah, that was difficult.
We're looking at the world's biggest disaster of its kind.
Dr. Martin Johnson runs the British Thalidomide Trust. So this is all your thalidomide files?
Yeah.
He's part of a worldwide campaign helping thalidomide survivors.
Something like 80 to 90% of the women who took the tablets in early pregnancy lost their babies. You know, deformed babies were quietly being suffocated, and of the ones that were allowed to live, 75% of them haven't survived to now. So the death toll is vast.
So this drug should never have made it onto the market.
Correct.
For Mary, thalidomide hasn't only meant a life of disability and pain, but a childhood spent in foster care. Your parents were advised to give you up.
Yep. My mum saw me for 2 hours and my dad never saw me. So it was pretty lonely. It was very lonely.
So this is the ritual every morning?
This is the ritual? Yeah.
For the Rose, it's been half a century of 24-hour-a-day care, with no help, no compensation, not even an apology from Grunenthal.
Voila!
Now, as they near 80, it's only getting harder. So these are the kind of struggles you go through every day?
Several times a day. Every time she goes to the toilet. I get up 2 or 3 times a night. So, yeah, it's all of those things as you get older take their toll, I think, and that's why I'm so white.
And I've lost mine.
The shocking thing about Grünenthal is that it has been responsible for this worst of all disasters of its kind, and it is still afloat, and they have not even changed the company name.
In fact, Grünenthal has grown into $1 billion company. Even more shocking, it has never been successfully prosecuted for the crime and the cover-up of thalidomide. But that's all about to change.
Thalidomide is, of course, the greatest pharmaceutical disaster in history.
Just this week, the Rose forced the Australian distributor of the drug to make a stunning admission of corporate responsibility and promise of compensation.
Every Australian woman who took thalidomide in the early 1960s, including Lynn's mother, was swallowing thalidomide made by Grünenthal at its factory in Germany.
And the Rose have Grünenthal in their legal sights.
They have never ever been taken on properly and forced to recognise the damage they've caused globally. I think this is going to do it in a big way, bigger than they can imagine.
Here in Australia, retired businessman Ken Udall is helping coordinate the push for compensation. And it's personal. The World War II veteran's own daughter, Nikki, was a thalidomide child who died 9 years ago after a life of struggle.
Nicole was the most gorgeous little girl, and it was heartbreaking in every way. I mean, we just could not believe that this little girl had gone. She was so strong up to that point. And has to be one of the most callous and disgusting actions by a company I've ever known. And I think that they will be brought to justice. That's my view.
But Grünenthal hasn't only turned its back on its victims, it's hidden a dark secret.
This is the first English language patent for thalidomide.
And this to you was the smoking gun?
Absolutely.
Dr. Martin Johnson's investigations have revealed the company that unleashed thalidomide on the world was founded and run by Nazis. Some of Adolf Hitler's most twisted medical minds worked for Grünenthal. Men involved in mass murder and genocide.
The concentration of Nazi war criminals in Grünenthal for a small company is absolutely extraordinary. You've got people like Baumkotter, who sent tens of thousands of people to their deaths, Stemmler, who led the campaign to have disabled people exterminated, and Dr. Otto Ambros. He was responsible directly for the deaths of many tens of thousands of people.
All of these men were employed then by Grünenthal.
Not just employed by, but were running Grünenthal.
And the driving force behind thalidomide, Grünenthal's chief scientist, Heinrich Muchter, was a wanted Nazi war criminal. Muchter kept thalidomide on the market for 2 years after its effects were known. How can any human being sit by and watch what their drug is doing to tens of thousands of people around the world?
We're talking about a group of people who had helped to make the Holocaust happen. So we have a whole group of people whose mentality was to disregard normal human values.
There is nothing worse you can say about a modern German company than what our evidence points to. A firm that offered safe haven and prosperity to some of the Nazis' worst war criminals. More chilling still to consider is the direct link between Grünenthal here in Aachen and a place so terrible it almost defies belief. Auschwitz extermination camp. Our evidence suggests thalidomide was invented here as an antidote to nerve gas and probably tested on prisoners in this laboratory of human suffering.
I believe thalidomide was developed in one of the chemical research labs at Auschwitz.
So you believe it was a Nazi invention?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a cruel irony for Ken Udall, who fought the Nazis in World War II. Their evil stretched so far as to harm your unborn baby.
Absolutely. Terrible.
You could have never imagined that so many years later, that Nazi mentality came back and hurt your daughter.
No, of course not. You know, I fought a war to make the world better, so to speak.